Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the Samsung S23 Ultra and Apple's iPhone 14 Pro Max. They're both the flagship models from both companies and have a lot of great features, but I wanted to help you decide which one would be best for you. They're both similarly priced, offer up to 1 terabyte of storage, but we're going to compare things such as the display, cameras, and much more. Now, as far as the overall build, well, not much has changed from the previous years on both devices. With the S23 Ultra, we have Gorilla Glass Victus on the front and the back, and we also have an aluminum or aluminum frame, depending on where you live. However, they have squared it off a little bit more this year, which is really nice. It makes it easier to hold on to, but it still does have sharp corners at the edge that can sort of push into your hand, but also does kind of help it lock into place. We have a familiar button layout with our power sleep wake button on the right, of course our volume button as well, and then there's a millimeter wave antenna below that. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have USB-C, which is really nice, along with our speaker and microphones, and we have an S Pen, which is something you don't get on the iPhone. So that's something brought over from the Note and that was there with the S22. We also have a physical SIM card on the Samsung, which is really nice as well, with an under-the-display fingerprint sensor as well. It works really well. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Of course, we have cameras and more that are all new. We'll talk about that later as well in the comparison. But when it comes to the iPhone, again, we have a familiar design with stainless steel around the outside edge and then Corning Gorilla Glass, or ceramic shield as Apple calls it, on the front, and then of course glass on the back. So Apple doesn't say it's Corning, it technically is. And then we also don't have a SIM card tray in the US. There's no physical SIM card in the US, just an eSIM. We have the familiar button layout on the left with the volume buttons and then the silent switch, and then nothing on the top. On the right-hand side, we've got our power sleep wake button and our millimeter wave antenna. On the bottom, of course, we're still using Lightning, and then we have our speaker and microphone. This should be upgraded to USB-C next year, supposedly, though. And then, of course, our cameras on the back. The overall weight is a little bit different, and because the iPhone is stainless steel, it's slightly heavier, at 240 grams or 8.47 ounces. The S23 Ultra is 234 grams or 8.25 ounces. So very similar in overall feel as far as weight, but the iPhone's a little bit heavier. The displays, of course, are really great on both of them. Both are technically made by Samsung, and they're very similar in size and pixel density. However, some things about one are better than the other. Now, as far as the S23 goes, we have a 6.8-inch 3088 by 1440 pixel resolution with 500 pixels per inch. We also have a peak brightness of 1750 nits, and then we have a 120 Hz display, and we have a similar display on the iPhone as far as those specs. However, on the iPhone, we have a slightly smaller display at 6.7 inches, or 1290 by 2796 pixels at 460 pixels per inch. However, we go up to 2000 nits of peak brightness on the iPhone. Again, it has a 120 Hz ProMotion display, as Apple calls it, and both are very, very smooth. However, the S23 Ultra feels a little bit smoother depending on what you're doing. So if you're scrolling, it's the smoothest probably Android phone I've used in a long time. So both are very nice though, and they look really great, have great viewing angles, and are just super high quality displays. Since they're both made by Samsung, I would expect that, and they seem to be really great. However, as far as PWM or pulse width modulation or the way they handle brightness, both of them do technically flicker the display faster and slower to bring up brightness or lower it. However, the iPhone seems to bother my eyes much less than the S23 Ultra. The S23 definitely has a more noticeable sort of screen flashing that you can't technically see, but definitely adds to eye strain and can cause some people, about 1 in 10, to have the feeling of nausea or feel nauseated overall. You can see this in slow motion at 240 frames per second, where at just about 50% brightness, both of them are flashing, but the iPhone you can barely tell. The S23 Ultra is flashing at a much lower rate, it seems. Some have said that the iPhone also has DC dimming, however, it's not technically there according to Apple, but above about 39% brightness. The frequency does raise up above 480 Hz, making it less intense on the eyes. Now, as far as battery life, that's a big concern for a lot of people. Battery life on both is actually more similar than you would think. The S23 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery that's good for about 11 to 11 and a half hours of screen on time. Similarly, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 4,323 milliamp hour battery. The iPhone also gets 11 to 11.5 hours of screen on time as well. However, depending on how you're using the phones and in different battery tests online, whether that's from Mr. Who's the Boss or someone else, you'll find that the iPhone typically gets about 10 to 2 hours more screen on time, depending on how you're using it, despite it having a smaller battery. However, the iPhone charges a little bit slower, 50% in about 35 minutes, where the S23 Ultra can charge 65% in 30 minutes. Both offer wireless charging, but we do have MagSafe on the iPhone. Since both iPhone and Samsung phones no longer come with a charger, I thought I'd share the Anker 313 and Anker 312 Ace chargers. Anker is the official charging partner of zollotech, and Anker has sponsored this video. This is the Anker 313 charger. It's a 45-watt charger with super fast charging 2.0 that will charge your S23 Ultra in under an hour at full speed. The charger uses gallium nitride technology, offering higher efficiency, upgraded heat dissipation, and a reduced size overall. It has multi-protect technology, which safeguards your Galaxy phone or iPhone with 10 layers of protection, from over-voltage protection, current regulation, and over-temperature protection. It has a foldable plug and is 30% smaller than Samsung's 45-watt charger. Also, we have the Anker 312 charger, which outputs 25 watts if you don't have something that's compatible with 45 watts, such as an iPhone. It will give you peak charging for the S23 non-Ultra models, and it also has all the same features of the 313, but it's smaller than Apple or Samsung's chargers as well. I'll leave a link to both of them in the description below so you can check them out. Now, one of the main reasons you would consider one of these phones over the others would be its cameras. The S23 Ultra has a front-facing camera that's smaller than last year's S22 with a 12 megapixel f2.2 that can record 4K 60 video. The iPhone also has a 12 megapixel forward-facing camera that's f1.9 that can also record 4K 60 ProRes video. The rear cameras are very different on both. For the rear of the S23 Ultra, we have a new 200 megapixel f1.7 main camera. We also have a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide, a 10 megapixel f2.4 telephoto zoom 3x optical zoom lens, and a 10 megapixel telephoto 10x optical zoom periscope zoom lens that's f4.9. It can record 8K up to 30 frames per second or 4K up to 60 frames per second in HDR10+. The iPhone has 3 cameras instead of 4 and has a newer 48 megapixel f1.8 camera, a 12 megapixel f2.8 3x zoom camera, and a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide. Both offer high resolution cameras and both have macro modes, action modes to stabilize footage, and much more. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cameras, and let me know after this what you think looks best and sounds best in the comments below. This is the forward-facing camera from the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the S23 Ultra. This should give you an idea of what it looks like. There's no portrait mode or anything enabled, but it shows what it looks like if you're just using it and you hit the button to record. It also gives you an idea of what it sounds like, as this is the 14 Pro Max, and here's the microphone from the S23 Ultra. Let me know which one you think sounds best and looks best in the comments below. Now, iPhones have always been known for very fast processors. So we have an A16 Bionic, but only with 6 gigabytes of RAM, but it seems to be enough. And again, like I said before, storage up to 1 terabyte. With the S23 Ultra, we have Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 specifically made for the S23 Ultra. And depending on the storage that you get, if you get the 256 gig model, you get 8 gigs of RAM. Anything above that, 512 or 1 terabyte, you get 12 gigs of RAM. However, both have neural engines or neural processors in them, and both are very capable and fast. Now, if we take a look at the Geekbench scores, let's go ahead and first run Geekbench 6 and just see what they have as far as a comparison there. So we'll run that and see what we get. Now, both completed, and you'll see that they're both fairly fast. With the iPhone, we did score a little bit better on both results, with the single core on the S23 Ultra bringing in 1,949 for single core. The iPhone is 2,539. Multi-core on the S23 Ultra is 5,159 compared to 6,290 on the iPhone. So there are slight differences, but this is just a benchmark test. If maybe we go into Chrome versus Safari here, let's open it up. And they both load about the same. The iPhone was a little faster there. Sometimes the S23 Ultra will be faster. If maybe we open the camera, if we go into that, let's see if we can do that at the same time. The iPhone was a little bit faster there. If we snap a photo, they're very similar. Some people complain about shutter lag on the S23 Ultra. Right now it seems to be very, very close, and I don't think most people will be bothered by that at all. Now, both devices don't have any apps open. You can see there's nothing there. Let's see how they compare as far as maybe loading a game. So we'll go into Real Racing 3 on both of them. I've installed all of the downloads that they ask you to do. I've already opened it before, but again, they're closed right now. If we run them on both, let's see what we get. Now, of course, speed just loading a game shouldn't matter too much. You'll see the iPhone's faster here, and we're already in. Give it a moment on the S23 Ultra, which in previous tests, I've actually seen the S22 beat the iPhone 14 Pro Max with the same sort of test. So it's taking a while for some reason, but now we're in. So now we're on the main screen. We'll swipe to get started here. And you'll see there was some frame rate stutter on the iPhone there, quite a bit. If we go into it, I guess we'll enter, we'll wait for it here. It says tap to continue. Let's get through to where we can actually race. So you'll see we're at the same point on both games. We'll tap race. And again, it's loading. And this time it was faster on the S23 Ultra. So then we're in. So the overall experience and frame rates are very good on both. The iPhone seems to be a little bit less as far as frame rates. Now that could be some optimization for the game itself, or it could just be the iPhone is a little bit slower in that case. But in both cases, both are very, very fast phones. Neither are really hot, just running that game for a moment, and they seem to perform really well and very smooth at all times, with the exception of their OS. Now we have Android 13 with One UI 5.1 on the S23 Ultra, where we have iOS 16.3.1 currently, or iOS 16 on the iPhone. The iPhone, I would say, in my regular experience with it, is it's a little more buggy these days than Android. We do get regular security updates on both, but it does seem to be a little bit more buggy, and I thought I'd never say that. So the iPhone seems to be a little less stable, however, it's gotten much better. As far as customization, of course, Android is going to have much more of that, so depending on what you like to do, you can go into things like Theme Park here and completely customize icons, and this is a Samsung app you can download. So you'll see here, if we go into icons, I've been trying this out a little bit, it says previous work, and we can flip everything to round if we want to. It applies the icons. We'll give it just a moment here. And now we have round icons like we do on a Pixel. So you can fully customize this however you'd like. And that's true of anything in the OS. If you don't like a widget here, you can move it. You can fully customize your screen. And that's going to appeal to a lot of people. However, on the iPhone side, some people just want it to work and don't really care about that. So the overall OS They're both pretty good, both feature packed, and both get updates for about 4 years on Samsung's side, with about 5 and more as far as security goes on the iPhone side. However, Apple doesn't specifically say. So you are guaranteed about 4 years of security updates on the Android side, and you get them about every month. iPhone gets downloads or updates regularly, but Apple doesn't say whether that's monthly or every few months. But it seems to be pretty consistent on both these days. When it comes to which one you should choose, well, iPhone is going to be great for those that have other friends and family that have iPhone, or you just want something that works seamlessly with, say, a Mac or iPad, or even an Apple Watch. This is going to be great for that. In fact, most people in my family have iPhones, and iMessage is essential because of that. In the United States, it's the most used app, and most people have that, at least that I talk to. However, there are a few people I know that don't, and it works just fine either way. However, if you don't care about any of that, well, then of course you have options such as WhatsApp or Messages or anything else, and those work just fine. Most people around the world use WhatsApp, so if Messages doesn't matter to you, well, you may want to go with the S23 Ultra. Both have great cameras, both have a good experience, both have good battery life, and it really comes down to which operating system is best for you. If you use Windows all the time, the integration with Windows with the S23 Ultra and some of the chat apps is really great. And then, of course, you have things such as Samsung DeX as well. So all of those things are factors. The cameras tend to be the number one factor, as well as battery life. Let me know which one would work best for you, and of course, which one you've chosen, or maybe you've just chosen to stick with an S22 or an older iPhone. I'd love to hear what you're using in the comments below. But again, I use iPhone mostly because most of my family does, and of course, I cover all the updates and different videos and things. But I could use either one and switch to S23 tomorrow and be very happy with it. I carry both of these at all times anyway, but let me know which one works best for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description as I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.